let's talk a little bit about the membership of the Horsemen. You started out at Ole, Arn, Rick, Tully, JJ, and then eventually Lex Luger was briefly in the fold, Barry Windham was briefly in the fold, and finally, not briefly, very finally remembered, great Horseman.
He was there the longest.
Mm-hmm. My question is, as far as membership goes, I know you guys are all friends. Did you have input into who actually formally joined the group? Was it a booking decision put on you?
Well, Ole got fired.
Surprise!
And so they had found this specimen down in Florida that they wanted to get him over in a hurry, and so that was a booking decision, and Lex was with us for a while.
Let's tell the truth. Barbara Goodish is here. Barbara Goodish is the widow of Bruiser Brody. And Lex Luger was green and inexperienced. I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what happened, but there was a cage match in Florida between Bruiser Brody and Lex Luger, who had an incredible body. And I don't know what Lex did, but apparently Bruce took exception to it and gave him the beating of his life, to the point that I understand that Lex climbed out of the cage, went to the dressing room, packed his bag, and was gone. And the story was that here's this guy with a great body, and the Florida office called Jimmy Crockett and said, he's got to go somewhere. Can you guys do something with him? And that's where, with Ole gone, and we were able to take a guy who had a great body and able to camouflage his lack of experience because of the ability of the other guys. And that's the true story.
I didn't even know that part of the story.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it just, you can only go so far, and it just wasn't working. And then Arn and I were wrestling no, we got rid of, how did we do that? How were we wrestling Barry and Luger?
Barry switched in a match.
Yeah, but that was a match that was huge.
Everybody saw that one coming.
But we got rid of Luger. I forget what the angle was.
Barry turned on Lex.
Yeah, that part. But I mean, how did we get Lex over there with them to wrestle us on
I
television?
think it was a Crockett Cup tournament match, maybe?
Battle Royal.
Oh, Battle Royal. Thank you, Dan.
Royal.
Okay.
1987.
No, that's what it was. There was a battle. There was a bunkhouse stampede, and the deal was whoever won the bunkhouse stampede would get a title shot at Flair. So our logic was that we were all in there, and I even got in there only with a thought in mind of just directing traffic. And if one of us won the bunkhouse stampede, then there would be no challenge to Flair, and that would solve the problem. And it ended up, because I recently had the chance to watch the match, it ended up with Tully, with Arn, with Luger, and I was still there. And all of a sudden, as I look around, it's all the Horsemen. And I remember I said, guys, I in my wildest dreams never thought that my name would be in the record book as having won a bunkhouse stampede. Tully looked at Arn looked at Tully, and they said, done deal. Tully went over the rope and eliminated himself. Arn went over the rope, eliminated himself, and Luger just kind of looked around. And there was a kind of a lull. And then I think Arn was the one that took the initiative and said, hey. And Luger looked at Arn and said, are you asking me or are you telling me? And he said, It doesn't matter. You're gone. Get out. JJ's the winner. Well, I kind of lost track of what was going on, and all of a sudden, Luger grabs me by the backside and the hair and whoosh, dumped me over the top rope because he wanted that shot at Flair. So it exposed to us that he had an agenda of his own that was not in the best interest of the Horsemen. So that was the reason why
Very
we
good.
internally made the decision that Lex Luger was history.
No. That's how memorable that part was. Oh, so then him and Barry team up and wrestle me and Arn on one of the live TV shows.
Jacksonville.
From Jacksonville, Florida, exactly. And then we did the angle, and that just blew the babyface's world aside. And that was a tremendously strong group of the Four Horsemen. I got asked this question last night, why they didn't induct Ole into the Hall of Fame. I said, that's a Vince question. You whatever. And but when you look at the group that the WWE inducted, Barry, Rick, Arn, myself, JJ, our manager, that was the strongest performance group that there was. And it dynamically changed my role, because I went from the other single, when it was Ole and Arn being the tag team, I went to the tag team, and Barry went to the other single. And it gave us so much more flexibility. And Arn and I could wrestle the Rock and Roll Express or the Road Warriors. And it worked. And Barry could wrestle anybody. Flair could wrestle anybody. And it worked. And that, in my opinion, is why that group is justified in going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Because of, and I mean, it was 2-3 years at that time. And the reason that it died is promoter issues. Pure and simple. I mean, you can't give a whole bunch of money away and not take care of the people that sell seats. And when some of us had enough, I could only get thrown off the jet once.
I'm going to relive a moment with you.
Go ahead.
We had an incredible run, and like I say, Tully and Arn both had enough, and so they had an opportunity to go to New York, where it was everybody wanted to go, to be managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan, the greatest manager there ever was, that sets the bar by which all of us are measured. And the final night was in Philadelphia, sold out house, and Tully and Arn were with the Midnight Express and dropped the titles to the Midnight Express. And as we walked back to the dressing room area, which was a pretty lengthy walk, I remember as if it was yesterday, Tully looked at me and he said, JJ, it's over. And it was. The instant that Tully and Arn were leaving, and that was their last match, the success of the Horsemen, the whatever you want to call it, ended that moment. Now, the name continued on, which is typical in wrestling. The promoters will take a name that had success and run it into the ground and bring other people and whatever. But truth be known, the moment that Tully and Arn left, that the Horsemen were over.